Okay, the topic today for Perspectives is the spontaneous reproduction of churches. Now what that means simply is that the missionary starts the kind of church that reproduces in daughter churches and granddaughter churches and great-granddaughter churches and so on. Now why is this important? When you look at the population of the world and the trends, the growth, there's no other way that we can fulfill the Great Commission if a missionary is just going to go and start a church. In fact, if that's all you're thinking of doing, please don't even go to the field. It's better you stay home, because you will only take the kind of mentality that will just inoculate the nations against real reproductive Christianity. Jesus said to make disciples of all nations. Well, what does that mean? Well, he explained what it meant. They're people that obey all his commands, including that of discipling their own people and other people. And we haven't done that when we've just started a church that's not reproductive. We haven't done that. The people has not been discipled. We're not reaching these billions that are still without Christ. We're just nibbling at the edges. Please don't even think of that as a viable missionary strategy. It isn't. It'll never get the job done. You're just taking methods and a mentality that are actually counterproductive to the real missionary task as Jesus himself defined it. Now, I want to bring this down to a way that you can understand in 2 hours how to plant the kind of churches that reproduce spontaneously. Obviously, there's not time to give you details, but I hope to do just one thing to enable you to make the commitments, the life commitments, heart commitments that are necessary to reproduce churches spontaneously. And these are commitments that you will make either if you go as a missionary or if you stay and work in a support role in the United States or wherever your home country is. It's the same commitment or series of commitments. Now, to make these commitments, I want to build a setting here and pretend that you are the mission field now, all right? You are the mission field. You are the unreached nations of the world. Now I need to divide you in 2 very different categories because the methods that we use for spontaneous reproduction of churches depend upon the kind of nation you are. And the most important distinction we need to make now for methodology is whether you are open or restricted. So we're going to assume now that you on this side of the room, you are the open mission fields of the world. You're unreached. You're Latin America, South Korea, Southern India. Over here, you are the restricted fields of the world. From the middle to this side, you are North Korea. Where would Mongolia be? Over here. China? Mostly over here, although until the recent upheaval, there was a lot of pretty open witnessing going on in China too, especially in the universities, but for the most part, China is over here, and especially among the ethnic groups inland China, very tightly restricted, all right? Where are most Muslim countries? Most, not all, but most are over here. Now the Muslim countries that border the Mediterranean Sea in northern Africa and the Middle East, very tightly restricted. Other Muslim countries a little farther south in Africa are a little more open, and Indonesia, fairly open, all right? So it's not just cut and dried. Now Malaysia, for example, Chinese Malaysia, open. Muslim Malaysia, closed. So it's not just defined by country. It depends on the ethnic groups within the country for the most part. In Egypt, for example, if you're the areas where the Coptic Church has predominated over the centuries,